you're just getting into off-camera flash. These are 3 of the most common lighting mistakes that we make, and of course, how to fix it. What's up, friends? My name is Pye. Welcome to another MagMod tutorial. Let's get right into this. So look, you're starting to learn off-camera flash. I want to walk through kind of 3 of the most common mistakes, things that I fell into as well. And often these are things that turn us off to the idea of using off-camera flash because we end up not liking the results. Let's get started with number 1, and that is I want you to always start by setting your intention. The first mistake that we often make is we don't understand flash to ambient balance and how that sets intention. Let me explain it. You're going to understand it completely in just a moment. Let's walk through the scene. This is Layla. We will link her up so y'all can give her a follow if you would like. And I've got Layla standing in this spot where basically I can create this interesting frame using the shape of the bridge. So let me just show you what we're going to do first. We teach photographers how to use off-camera flash with a framework called CAMP. And it means start with your composition first, then we're going to dial in ambient light, then we're going to modify and add light, then we're going to take our pictures or photograph. So composition-wise, this is kind of what I'm going for, okay? So I've got the camera placed low, and I'm framing her in this nice white space of the bridge. Okay, we have an idea for our composition. Now, early in learning how to light, this is where we often make the mistake of jumping straight to our flash. So I go right to setting up the light. I have the ProPhoto B10, and you can use any flash you'd like, okay? I put on the mag reflector, and all that's gonna do is just funnel the light forward so light doesn't spill, okay? But it's basically a bare flash. So I go straight to the flash. For some reason, we feel like we have to shoot at full power. Again, I don't know why. I did the exact same thing as well. So I'm gonna show you what we typically get. We get something like this. And instead of adjusting my light, I just go right into the camera settings. I'm like, okay, well, I guess we need to kind of start dialing the aperture up. So let's go to like f5.6. And that's still too bright. Let's bring it up to like f7. I'm gonna go to low ISO, still a little bit too much. And then we're gonna go to like f9. Okay, like right now I'm starting to get about right. Let's get up to f11. And I go, okay, at f11, I get the right exposure. Here's what I want you to do instead. After you have an idea of your composition, okay? Don't worry about your light yet. Don't set up your remote, don't set up your lighting. I want you to first set your intention. If you want a dramatic shot, you're gonna darken the ambient light exposure. If you want something more natural, you're gonna leave the ambient more bright. So let me walk you through that. And this is where we get to that ambient exposure part of CAMP, right? So I'm gonna go with something more bright first. From here, with this brighter ambient exposure, this is where I'm gonna go ahead and start adding light. And that's when I get to the modify piece of the CAMP framework. We're gonna modify the light in the scene by adding a bit of light. And because my ambient exposure is so bright, I don't need that much light, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and take the first shot. And look, this is full power. I don't need it at full power. So I'm gonna back off the power, maybe 1 to 2 stops to bring it down to maybe like 1/4 power. And that's it. I just wanted this little kick of light to add to this natural sort of vibe in the scene. Now, on the flip side, if you want something more dramatic, let's do the same thing. So what we're gonna do is take the light off. We're gonna go back to that ambient light piece, right? This go around, I'm gonna go ahead and lower my shutter to 1/200. And let's say that I want something dark. I want something dramatic. I'm gonna lower the in-camera exposure. By this, I'm just gonna close down the aperture until around I can see the clouds in the background. So maybe like f10, f11. This is what the shot looks like without flash. Look at how dark and dramatic it is, right? So when it's a dark exposure, we need more flash power. So by default, I'm just gonna go to full power and see if it's about right. Let's go ahead. And boom, there it is. This is deciding intention. Our first mistake is thinking that flash should kind of dictate our exposure, and it should be the other way around. So look, when you get to a scene, I want you to first set the intention. You want something more natural, leave the ambient exposure brighter, use less flash power. You want something more dramatic, pull down the ambient exposure and use more flash power. Let's go on to the next one. Next, one of the most common mistakes and issues that we have is that we either put in too much flash power or not enough flash power. So what's really the right amount? There's a couple tools I want to give you all first, okay? Number one, I want you guys to expose in camera when you set that ambient light exposure, right? Use your histogram to see where the information is falling and turn on your highlight alert. So I'm going to do that now because whenever you're shooting and you're adding light, so for example, I have Layla pose here on the rocks. I kind of want to fill this entire frame around her with rocks. I'm going to shoot kind of close and wide to exaggerate legs and make everything look a little bit more kind of edgy of that vibe, okay? The light is right off the right with a MagMod Pro 24 on it, just going slightly top down. And what often happens, I'm gonna go ahead and take a shot, is that we look at it, and because we might be outdoors, because it might be bright, if we don't turn on the highlight alert, we don't notice that we're blowing things out. So I want you guys to have the highlight alert on, because when you're working outside and you can't quite see the brightness of the exposure, we're gonna look at the histogram. The histogram is gonna tell us if it's, where's the background? Is it too dark? Is it too bright? And then that highlight alert is gonna warn us to what areas are blinking. And if it's blinking, I know I've got too much flash power. But look, those are some of the technical tools. I wanna give you a really simple, just general rule to help you understand how to get the right flash balance, okay? You're gonna start with our number one thing. We're gonna start with just setting the intention, right? For this scene, I kind of wanna go for something a little bit darker. I want it to feel a little bit dramatic. I'm gonna nix the trees and stuff out in the final image. I want her to be surrounded by kind of these rocks, okay, that drop into the background. I'm also gonna be fairly close. With the remote off, I'm gonna set the intention of the shot. So I want it to be around maybe like F8 to F9, where everything looks a bit dark, right? And this looks fantastic. Now, once you've set the intention, all we really want to do with flash is lift the subject out by getting them a bit brighter than the surrounding area. And this is the same rule if you're going for a bright and kind of more natural image. You're going to be using less flash power, but what you want is your subject to be just a little bit brighter than the rest of the scene. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I'm going to place my remote on, and we're going to get our shot. So when it comes to flash power, you can't really go wrong with this rule. Set your intention first with your ambient light, then just add a little bit of flash to lift your subject out of the scene. Make them about a half a stop to one stop brighter than everything around them, or stylistically go wherever you want, but just bring them out with a little bit of flash. Let's go on to the next one. Last but not least, one of our most common mistakes is just not quite fine-tuning our lighting angle, and it makes a big difference. I'm gonna demonstrate how, but I'm gonna go ahead and put the MagMod Pro 24 Octa onto my B10 Plus. I've got the ring on there already. I'm gonna go ahead and set this up, which is incredibly simple. We're done. Close this up, and it goes right here. I wanna point out that right now, the flash is right around Layla's height, okay? So I'm gonna go to my camera. We're gonna shoot probably full power because we're out in midday sun and we're using a modifier. So I'm gonna leave it at full power. We'll set this to 1/200th f14, low ISO, and this is what we get. I'm shooting against this wall because with light, I kind of feel like it has this nice edgy vibe that would match her clothing well, and I really dig the look. But when our lighting angle is a bit off, it kind of creates a sense of unease when we look at the image. And what I'm noticing in this is it feels unnatural because you'll see the shadow is basically extending straight off of her. Now, naturally, the way that we see shadows is that, well, the sun's above us, so our shadows are typically going down and away from us. So generally, we want to light from a top-down direction. So I'm going to show you how we generally want to set up the lighting angle, and then one other common mistake of basically going too low, because I want you to see the differences between all of these. So now let's do what I like to do. I like to place the flash maybe around 6 to 12 inches above her head height, and then angled slightly down. And we're going to take the exact same shot again. Now this is such a subtle adjustment, but the first thing we notice is the shadow that's being cast off of Layla is now directional. It's going down a little bit and hitting the wall. It looks more natural. The other side too is if we zoom in on the face, you can see how much more natural and how much more flattering the light direction is when it's coming top down. The worst of this is basically when we go bottom up, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. So sometimes as we're putting our flashes up, we don't quite realize that we're setting up a bit low. So we're actually setting up a bit low and kind of adjusting from this side. And I'm going to make it a little bit more extreme just to kind of exaggerate the effect, but I'm going to go bottom up. I often call this campfire lighting because if you do want it to look like a campfire, then this is the way you'd light, right? The light's coming from down below on a fire and it creates that look. And we're gonna go ahead and take that same shot again. Now in that image, when the light is placed lower, not only is the shadow going up, but we get these unnatural shadows on the face as well. So placing all three of those shots together, I want you to notice that this is such a small adjustment in getting this lighting angle, and yet it makes such a big difference in our images. So just make sure that when you are lighting, if you want it to have a natural look and feel to it, what we want is the light to be maybe around 6 to 12 inches above our subject's head. So light top down and not bottom up. And granted, there are stylistic reasons to maybe sometimes go even higher. There's reasons to go lower, but in general, we want a more natural look. We want to light top down at this angle. That's it. So as you're diving down this rabbit hole of off-camera flash, enjoy this journey. But I want you to remember, as you approach a shoot, think number one, what is my intention? Start there. Set your ambient light exposure to match the intention. From there, I want you to remember, well, what does my flash power need to be? Well, I just need my subject to be a little bit brighter than kind of the background or the surrounding area, whatever your exposure might be. And from that, just remember that we want to place the light in general a bit above our subject's head and light top down so we get natural looking shadows and natural lighting. That's it for me. We're going to link up all the gear that we use in the description of the video. I'll see you guys next time. And of course, as always, we'd love for you to subscribe to the channel and comment below because I do read them all. And I actually not only like to reply, I get a lot of my ideas from you guys. So if there's anything you want to learn, let me know and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.